Jay here for Stretford Paddock, and this is Stretford Paddock Live. Joining me, as always, is my co-host.
What do you mean as always? We haven't done this in ages, Jay.
But when we did do it, you were the one that did it with me.
It was Transfers Live before, and now it's Stretford Paddock Live because the transfer window's ended. The flurry of transfers has ended, Jay.
We spoke about interruptions in rehearsal, and we agreed it wasn't going to happen anymore.
You agreed it wasn't going to happen.
I'm only joking, as if we rehearse. Joe, what we're talking about tonight?
We've got loads to talk about. Funnily enough, we have got some transfers, but now we don't have to pretend that they're coming in January. We can be honest and say that they're coming in the summer. We're keeping an eye on Tottenham versus Chelsea, which is going on in the background there. Currently 1-0 to Chelsea. We'll keep the live score updates for that. We've got all sorts coming up. We've got Bruno Fernandes, who may well be getting a new contract. We've got Erling Haaland coming. We've got Jules Koundé, who is a centre-back that United may be signing in the summer, who United have been linked with, who are interested in. We've got quite a lot to come up. Jesse Lingard, of course, will react to his impressive West Ham debut last night. Loads coming up.
Love Jaylings. Already in the comments, I'm seeing some love for him. Guys, get involved in the comments. Hit the like button as well. Get liking. And if you're not subscribing to the channel, please give us a subscribe. Come on, man. You know it makes sense. Right, so we start off then with some summer targets. You mentioned this youngster, Jules Koundé. If memory serves,
go on.
He's 22 years old.
Right. Born in.
Well, you know, it's funny you asked me that. Where was he born?
Where was he born?
He was born in Paris.
He was actually.
Yeah, French. Parisien.
Yeah.
As they say. So, you know.
Interesting.
And he's at Sevilla, wearing the number 12 shirt, of course.
Famously.
Yes, like Chris Smalling at United. Or Brian Robson, for those older viewers amongst us. Now,
I think Chris Smalling might be for those older viewers amongst us, to be honest, at this point. Was it 10 years ago we signed him?
Yeah, so anyway.
Yep.
He's a defender, young centre-back, looks like United are interested in him. I remember having this on a paper talk a couple of weeks ago. So the interest, you know, it's been sort of gathering a little bit of momentum. Joe, 22-year-old centre-back, playing at Sevilla, doing well, obviously. You know, we all know what Sevilla are like. We remember them in the Europa League, don't we? We'll say no more about that. Is this the answer? A young centre-back who...
Yeah.
I'm not pouring any water on this before he's even signed, but that he isn't probably in the very top sort of levels of your Dale Upamecano's, those types of players, but is sort of up and coming. Do you think that's a good move for Manchester United?
I think it is a good move for Manchester United. I think he sort of seems to match a lot of the characteristics that Ole wants to partner Maguire with. Yeah. And again, let's be honest, if he's coming in, he's partnering Maguire, and I think that's rightly so as well. If you look at
always say this, and it's true.
Maguire is Manchester United's best centre-back. Yeah. And whether that's because of his talent, or because of his lack of injuries, or because of his passing ability, his aerial ability, or an accumulation of those things. You know, you can look at Eric Bailly and say, well, he's quicker, maybe he's a bit more decisive, maybe he's a bit more naturally gifted, but he's never available. You look at Lindelof, he's probably not much quicker than him. He's certainly not as good in the air as him. I don't think he's as good tackler, but maybe he tracks his man a little bit better. But again, I think overall, Maguire is our best centre-back. He will be the person that Koundé would be coming in next to. And I think centre-backs are such a difficult thing to judge because I think of all positions, obviously attackers, it's much more easy to quantify because you can say, well, you got 16 goals, 13 assists in that league. Now you come here, you've got 8 goals, 4 assists. What's gone wrong? With a centre-back, you never quite know what you're going to get. You look at, you know, certain players like, let's use John Stones, for example, although he is experiencing a bit of a renaissance at the minute at City. Yeah. He came in for a hell of a lot of money, 50 million quid, and essentially wasn't used for 18 months. And yet someone like Ruben Diaz, who, I mean, we all know who John Stones was. He was a well-established prospect, a well-established character before he went to Manchester City. Everyone sort of thought, yeah, great, perfect signing. Didn't quite work. Obviously, he's working now, but again, sometimes it takes a long time. But you look at Ruben Diaz at City, who, on the opposite end of the spectrum, most people hadn't heard of him, and comes in and revolutionises their defence. They've conceded 13 goals in 21 games, 20 games for them, 21, sorry, the games from this season. Like, you're never quite certain with centre-backs. And I think what he does is he's quicker and stronger than Lindelof. I don't think he's quite as good at passing, but he's good on the ball. His dribbling and his ball control ability seems pretty good from what I've seen, which is somewhat limited, but you know, by the fact that you have to read off his Wikipedia, maybe slightly more than you, which is no bad thing. I think a lot of people haven't seen and don't know much about him, and I don't know much about him. But I do think he seems to tick more of the boxes in terms of a partner for Maguire than anyone else we've got. So I personally, I think he's a good age, 22, just at the age where you can start to come through and establish yourself physically. You're not sort of a young kid anymore. We see Ted Mengi go out on loan to Derby. I think Koundé, if he is the guy that United want, if he's the right man, then I would go for it. And it's a good age. He's playing at a very good level. Like you said, we all know how good Sevilla are. This sort of
he was
almost
one of their
freakish
best players
ability
as well
to win the Europa League.
Yeah,
he's an excellent player, and I think I'd definitely take him. Yeah.
I mean, you've sold me. Definitely. My only question is, is he better than what the other options we've got? Is he ready-made to come into this team? And you'd argue that he probably is.
Yeah.
All right, he's still young, but he's not a child. He's not 17. He's 22, and he's just had a great season at Sevilla. He's still obviously playing well for him. So by the time he comes to us, you think he'd be sort of ready for the first team, and hopefully wouldn't cost a ridiculous amount of money like some of the other defenders we've been linked with. Obviously, the other sort of target in that graphic you can see is Erling Haaland. Now, United went in for Erling Haaland before he moved to Dortmund. Looked like at one point we were going to get him. He knows Ole. He was open to the idea of coming to Manchester United and coming back to England. Obviously, been here when he was a kid. Everyone was thinking, I was getting excited, getting me Erling Haaland tattoo sorted, and then...
I've seen it. I've seen the mock-ups.
I'm not going to change it. I'll just wait for us to sign him. And then he ended up got to Dortmund almost at the 11th hour. People saying there's something going on with his buyout clause or sell-on clause and all this sort of stuff, that the club weren't happy with it. They wouldn't have a full control over his future. Mino Raiola's involved. Never an easy marriage when it's Mino Raiola and Manchester United, as we know, with the ongoing saga of Paul Pogba. And when I say ongoing, let's not forget, that started with Mino Raiola in 2011. That's when Paul Pogba was first having contract negotiations with Manchester United, ended up going to Juve because basically Ferguson and Raiola just hated each other. Comes back and we've had no end of dramas with his agent since. United apparently targeting Haaland as a priority, even over Jadon Sancho. I'll get to him in a minute. Jadon Sanchez. I'll get to him in a minute. But I've always had the feeling that we might have missed our chance with Haaland. Where do you stand on this? Because just one final thing is the reason you might get a little bit more excited as well. One of the reasons is Dortmund look like they're in a bit of financial mither, which should say there's a potential garage sale going down in the summer. Yeah,
the Haaland thing is a continuing thing, and I think it will be a continuing thing until he makes his next move from Dortmund.
Yeah,
we were clearly after him when he left Salzburg, and there's reports. We'll talk about it a bit more when we move on to the Bruno stuff later on, talking about Bruno's potentially getting a new contract. But he's reported in The Athletic today, and it kind of confirmed what a lot of people already knew and what had been reported already, that United were relatively convinced of signing Haaland up until the end of December 2019, when just before the January transfer market, where we signed Bruno. And basically, we went to go see Haaland in Switzerland, Austria. Sorry, I went to go see Haaland, and it basically became clear that he wasn't going to be joining us before the transfer window opened. So we got a month's worth of rumours and of speculation that Haaland was coming to United. Before he went to Dortmund, when really everyone kind of knew it wasn't going to happen, which this sort of basically ruling out of Haaland sparked United's interest in Bruno and brought that forward 6 months, because that Bruno was meant to be the summer target. Yeah. It was meant to be Haaland in January, Bruno in summer, and then now Haaland's off the table. Well, let's try and get Bruno now then. So
that was a disaster, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So that really worked. But the thing is, what it means is that United clearly want Haaland, and I'm sure we don't want him any less now he's still bagging the goals. And I was looking before, he's got 66 goals since the start of last season, which is astonishing.
That's ridiculous.
I think that's about the same as, Martial, Rashford and Bruno put together.
Right.
Or, there or thereabouts. It's slightly less, but you know the point I'm making. It's
he's a bit good in it.
Number of goals for Erling Haaland. I just think that United will still be after him. I think that when his release clause comes into play next year, which I believe is 72 million or thereabouts, they're going to lose him at that point. So now Dortmund's choice is, do we sell him for more now so that we don't lose him for less in a year's time? And if what you're saying is true about them potentially needing a bit of money, I think they may have to sell him. I would be slightly concerned that Chelsea and City are coming in for him, but for me, he's the most outstanding candidate to come into Manchester United and just carry on where he's carried on every other club he's been at.
Yeah, people look at it and they'll go, oh, Raiola, and I've done it. I did it literally 5 minutes ago. Raiola, and we missed our chance. And obviously, if he chose Dortmund over us, then why is he not going to choose City or Real Madrid or Chelsea or whoever comes in for him, or the Scousers or whatever? Why would we be able to get him now? But I think we have to look at it as well that Dortmund was proper sold to him Like, they pulled out all the stops. I was reading an article, I don't know where it was, the Athletic or somewhere like that, about, you know, they had, I know it sounds trivial, but they did every little thing they could to get him. The players were contacting him. They had a WhatsApp group that they added him to.
A lovely plate of custard creams on the
custard
table.
Creams, and they know that they're his favourite.
They're his favourite.
So it's little things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Join the dots, orange squash, not blackcurrant, because he loves orange.
And he likes the no sugar orange squash as well, you see. So when he saw that, he thought, these guys aren't playing games, whereas United, we just rang him and said, yeah, do you want to come to United? And he was
got
like,
Pepsi in that.
Pepsi in that, and, you know, it's not right, Old Trafford and that. Salford, it's mint. And he was like, I don't know about that. Got good transport links? No, I'm all right. So, yeah, he ended up going to Dortmund. But Dortmund are a selling club. We know that. We've had players off them. We had Kagawa, we had Mkhitaryan. They've always been a selling club. They're one of those clubs, though, that don't just give players away. You have to pay money for him. Sancho getting mixed up there.
Those bastards, aren't they? I hate those clubs where you have to pay
charging money
for
for your best players. As you said...
Not like United, eh?
We just give him away.
Yep.
Do you want him? You can have him, mate.
Who do you want? Sanchez? Fucking just have him.
Just have him, mate. Well...
Who do you want? Smalling? 10 million? Just fucking have it.
Rojo?
Do whatever, mate. We're like the rich kid who's like got poor mates. Who's just like, do you want my old Xbox or something?
Do you know who was like that for United? Who genuinely was like that? Louis van Gaal.
Yeah.
He like literally, it was like he'd never heard of any of the players that he had.
Yeah.
What's that? You want Chicharito? Just give us a few million.
Six million or something.
What did we pay for him? 6. You give us 7, you can have him.
Yeah,
What's that? Johnny Evans? No, you can just have him.
Just have him.
Yeah, I'll sell him you for 8 million and I'll spend 16 million on Rojo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, just have him. You owe me one.
Yeah.
You owe me one.
We'd buy it.
Yeah, I'll be the manager here for ages. So next time I come for a transfer, just give me a knockoff.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, no dear. Yeah, that works out well. Anyway, so one to keep an eye on. Haaland, we're going to go in for him. We're going to get in a bidding war. We're going to get excited like he's going to come, and then he'll probably end up going to Real Madrid. But you never know.
I think we've got a chance. I think as long as Ollie's here, we've got a chance of getting him.
Because there is a relationship there, and people go, well, I've even seen people having to think about how Ollie is. Ollie couldn't convince him. It wasn't Ollie, I think, was the main issue. I think there was the board were reluctant with the setup of the deal. That flagged it up for Raiola. Raiola's got his ear and was like, you know what, United might not be the place for you. Dortmund, in the meantime, literally pulled out, not literally, but did everything they could to ingratiate him. And also, when he was, 19 when he went to Dortmund?
Yeah.
18, 19? It was not a case of this is your career. This is the move for the rest of your life. Go to Dortmund for a couple of years, bang in a load of goals, get a bigger move, and it's a nice progression. Do you know what I mean?
If this move was meant to be his final move that has ruled out any chance of him going anywhere else, why would you put a release clause on a player that is roughly equal to the amount he's worth at the point of signing it? You normally, he's a good player, he's going to improve. Let's put a £150 million release clause, because if we think he could get there, and if he does, someone will pay for it. Haaland's release clause is like 70 million.
Yeah.
He was worth that. The day he signed for Dortmund, he was worth that. So there's no way you put in a release clause that low on a player that talented if they don't expect to sell him. And they will be forced to sell him, or at least forced to accept offers that are made of that value in the summer of 2022. So if they want to get more than that, they have to sell him this summer.
You have to. Guys, get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think of Erling Haaland. Would he be your priority over Jadon Sanchez? Because obviously we are still linked with Jadon Sancho. The reasons that I said about Erling Haaland possibly being available in the summer, or definitely being available, is that Dortmund need the money and he's got a buyout clause. Also applies to Sancho. And there's been these stories sort of gathering a little bit of momentum over the last week or so that Dortmund are a little bit disappointed in themselves. That they didn't say the what money they could have got from United when we were offering like 100 million or 90 odd million and they wanted the 130 because now it looks like they're not going to get that and maybe they should have took it because A, he's not having as good a season as he had last time, even though it's not been that bad and he has improved recently, and B, COVID and the pandemic has just riddled everyone's finances and it's like actually we probably could have done with that. So there's talk that maybe Sancho is not cheap, but cheaper. And also, he's got a year less on his contract. So, we know his contract runs out in 2023, I think.
I think so.
So, obviously, last summer, that's still a few years. This summer, not as many. That's maths, quick maths.
Yeah.
Looks like Sancho could be on sale. Again, though, is he United bound?
I think he is. I do think he is. Because the rumours of him coming to United have only grown. And you see Dortmund have been holding out for around 120 million. However, the Bundesliga giants are now willing to drop their demands by 20 million in order to get a deal done in summer. And do you know what this feels like to me? And you said it before about they've they wanted this money and they kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting and it didn't come. And now they will probably never get what they were holding out for. They may not even get what we offered last time.
Well, they shouldn't.
Have you ever been on?
Sorry, what we offered. Sorry. Right.
Yeah, you go on eBay and there'll be something listed for buy it now or nearest offer. Like, right, here we go, boys. And it's like listed at 60 quid, and you go, will you take 45? 45, enter, and they accept the first bid, and you go, should have gone 30. Should have gone 30. Well, they're on the other end of that spectrum where they've gone in and they've gone, right, I'll set it for 160 quid buy it now, 130 quid buy it now. Someone's offered 90. No, I'm not taking it. We'll hold out for 130 quid. And then the listing ticks down. Should have got fucking 100, should have got 100, should have got 90 while I had the chance. And then you have to relist it at 60, which is what they're doing. It's just eBay.
How old is eBay? It feels like it's been around forever.
Got to be 20 years old, isn't it?
Feels like, yeah, I remember it back in the day.
Yeah. But I think that's the position they're in on a, let's be honest, much grander scale. But they were so difficult and just hard to work with in the summer. And it seemed as though United almost, the thing that stopped this deal happening, if this even makes any sense, is the fact that it looked so certain to happen. Yeah, almost that kind of like Dortmund were in a, it felt as though from the very start that Dortmund were in a difficult bargaining position because we were the only buyer, Sancho wanted to come, and we seemed to have the money. So at that point, what's Dortmund's angle? What's Dortmund's like big piece to play here in terms of getting more money? The only thing they had was actually not selling him. The only chip, the only bargaining tool that they had on Sancho was not selling him. And anything other than that, basically the ball was in our court. So they did the one thing they could do, which is hold on to him for another year. And looking at the fact that they're willing to lower their demands, looking at the effect that the pandemic has had on pretty much every business in the world, let alone football, it seems as though that gamble that they took of not selling him at all, and looking at his form and the team's form, hasn't paid off. Now, at some point, they're going to have to come back. If they do want a lot of money for him, like you said, his contract is running down. At some point, they have to come back and go, you know what, we will take that 90 million. And then that's when United probably, knowing United go, 60. And they go, what do you mean? You offered 90. 60 now. Yeah. Should have had it. Should have had 90 when you had the chance. It's 60 now. But who knows what will happen. I just think that they weren't in the best bargaining position anyway. What they had was an incredible, potentially, world-class talent. Now they have that, but he's not as good as he has been, and he's got 1 year less on his contract. And everyone knows that they need the money even more than they did last summer. I think that United, if they still want him, will get him this summer. I actually do think we'll get Sancho. The fact that people are saying that we're going to be going back to negotiations in the next few months, I reckon that this one's going to happen, to be honest. I do think it will happen. Joe thinks
it's going to happen.
At some point, we will sign Jadon Sancho. Or not.
Vine, that's simple an exclusive.
And it's as simple as that.
And that is a fact. In the super chat, Vine Navneet says, Sancho's arrival might depend on Diallo's success. Haaland is a must anyway, in my opinion. It's a good point, that, because, I mean, all right, Diallo is a million miles away from where Jadon Sancho is at the minute, but he's obviously high rated. I think with add-ons, it goes up to 37 million euros, what we paid for him. So he's not like just some kid who's pennies. Do you know what I mean? He's sort of cost quite a bit of chunk of change. Obviously had a great debut for the under-23s. If you didn't see that, go and check it out. And also check out David Pritt on the Academy review. Yeah. He was talking about it. Scored a couple of goals, including a little Panenka penalty.
Very nice.
Cheeky. He's obviously full of confidence. So who knows if he features this season at all and does anything, then maybe it will make United think twice about going all out for Jadon Sancho in the summer, because you've obviously bought him to do something. You're not just bought him for nothing. And if he can do it ahead of time, then you might not need to spend the 90 million or whatever it is on Jadon Sancho as well. Everyone, please do give the video a like. We've got over 1,000 people watching, and we've only got about 100 likes, which is absolutely disgraceful. So give us a like, and also let's have a look in some of the comments as well, see what people are saying. The Overlord says, Real and Barca are due a big makeover, and Haaland, Bruno and Sancho will be top of both teams' wish list. We're going to get on to Bruno in a little while about his contract. Wouldn't surprise if some of the big team, not that we're a big team, but like the Barca's, well, Barca are skin, aren't they?
Barca are
Real Madrid or maybe
struggling more for cash at the minute.
I don't see Barca doing anything.
Over $1 billion in debt. They're looking to pay Messi £2 million a week to stay with them. I think, I'm not saying he couldn't go there, but they are going to have to sell some big players in order to start splashing 100 million euros around again like they have been doing in recent years. They're really struggling at the minute.
Anthony Jarvis says, Jay and Joe, if you could only take one of them, who would it be?
If we're taking them both this summer, I would go Sancho. Or if it's the season after, I would get Haaland. Just because we've got Cavani for another year.
Yeah.
I think that gives us enough time to give Martial another season, evaluate whether his season this year is a blip or whether, things aren't potentially looking quite so good for him, whether he needs replacing. I think that Haaland probably... It's hard, isn't it? They're both brilliant, but I think this. If you're going to sign one this summer, I'd take Sancho. We haven't got any right wingers at the club except Diallo.
I'm actually the other way around. I'd go with. I get where you're coming from, 100%. I'm not disputing any of what you said. It's all bang on. But I just think Haaland, for me, would be the overriding priority for me. I just think he's that phenomenal. I think with Sancho, there's a small little
diss him, Jay.
Little doubt as to how good he is.
Yeah.
Like, is he the absolute world-class world beater we hope he is?
Yeah.
I still think the jury's out a little bit. And people go, what are you on about? Look at his goal involvements and he's only a kid and look at what he's done in Germany and look at what he's done for England or whatever. But I still think you don't know for certain that this is a guy who's going to come into the Premier League and say, I think he will. But it's not guaranteed or as guaranteed as you can get. With Haaland, there's no doubt in my mind, he comes in the Premier League, he scores you 20 Premier League goals.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, I think his finishing...
You're going to get Harry Kane levels of goals.
His finishing is world-class, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
it is.
There's
we create chances as well now.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't create chances. Our problem is sometimes we don't finish them, but we create them.
Yeah.
So if I had the choice, listen, I'm not going to be crying if we buy Sancho instead of Haaland. It's a happy one to have. Also in the Super Chat, Brian Kelville says, I love the prospect... Sorry, Keville, thank you. I love the prospect of Shola Shoretire, Anthony Elanga, Diallo. Why can't we look at those wingers next year? I watch Pritt a lot. Yeah, as I mentioned, David Pritt was talking about all those players. He's always been going on about them. And we've got some real talents. I think the only sort of issue you have with that is, and I get where you're coming from, Brian, it's a great point. We've been here before where guys look like world beaters in the academy. I remember, showing me, Terry Cook looks amazing. And I was like, Beckham, Giggs, forget about them, mate. Terry Cook's going to be the next big thing. Kiko Makeda looked mint. Danny Welbeck looked mint for the academy.
And the other side looked mint.
Yeah, and they did well for the first team, some of those players anyway, but the step up to becoming a sort of United regular is a big ask, and you just don't know sometimes how it works out. So, while I see what you're saying, I think we might have to wait a little bit longer than just a year or two, and I don't know, it might be one of those where you need someone who can come in a bit sooner than when them players are going to be ready. Go on, sorry, Joe, I'll let you read that one out.
Niv Stukiner has said, we're leading scorers currently in the Premier League. Is it possibly more important to get a big name defender than it is to bolster the attack? And that's a great point, and that sort of takes us quite nicely onto our next topic.
Alaba.
David Alaba.
Yes.
Now,
that was me pointing, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I did.
At the graphic, I don't know why.
He, for me, is one of the best defenders in the world, I think. I think he's versatile. We've talked about him before in here. So we don't need to go through necessarily his CV. We all know, what is it? I think it's 9 Bundesligas he's won.
Just the 9 Bundesligas for me
Leagues,
last night.
All sorts of, pretty much everything you can win in club football. Can play left back, can play centre back, can play the left of a back three, can play central midfield. Just a genuinely fantastic player. And I think he's still only 28. Like, this is a guy who's done everything and certainly isn't washed up by any means. Now, David Alaba, his contract runs out at Bayern Munich at the end of the season. Yeah. There's been reports all around Europe, Fabrizio Romano, all sorts of people saying he's going to Real Madrid, don't worry about it. But then tonight we've got a quote here from Konstantin Ekner, who writes for The Times, writes for BBC.
We've had him on the show, mate. I did a one-to-one with him. He's a good guy.
Exactly. Check that out if you haven't checked that out.
On the channel, sorry,
he said,
not the show.
as recent reports have indicated, David Alaba's move to Real Madrid is far from finalised. He may prefer Spain, but is now open to offers from England.
Excuse me.
Chelsea and Manchester United are those with interest. So, again, this is one of those where you go, he's probably going to Real Madrid, and he is probably going to Real Madrid. He likes the idea of going to Real Madrid. Real Madrid seem to want him.
Why would anyone go to Madrid over Manchester?
Exactly. There do seem to be some stumbling blocks between him and Madrid. I think some of it is he's not quite happy with the money that Madrid are offering him, because I think, again, it's that same sort of thing. Madrid knows he wants to go there, so let's just give him whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas United, I'm not sure it depends if he's part of our plan, because we do seem to have a bit more of a transfer plan than we used to. But I feel as though United are the sort of team that would give him 200 grand a week to come to United.
100%.
He's a sensational player, and again, a versatile player. You could play him and Maguire together. You could play him on the left-hand side, although Luke Shaw has been tremendous recently. You could even play him in front of those players. Him and Pogba together next season, if we keep hold of Paul Pogba, would be a stunning midfield, if you ask me. So I'd absolutely love to have him. And, you know, Konstantin Ekner, who is a reliable guy, is saying that there is potentially a chance that United could be getting him. I think, for me, we should pull out all the stops on this. Again, it looks as though Madrid is still the key favourite here and the team that he's most likely to join. But if there is any chance, I really think we have to go for it.
I mean, you know, someone of that quality, like you said, 2 Champions Leagues, 9 titles. I mean, okay, you're at Bayern Munich, so you're always going to win lots of trophies there. But he is world class. And if you can get him, these are the types of players you want to see at Manchester United. The type of players you come in and you go, oh, do you know what I mean? Like, there's, you know, he's
Superstar.
like superstar here, and it raises everyone's game, makes other teams look at us a little bit differently. Now, Chelsea obviously got money to burn, despite the fact that they went crazy this summer in the transfer market. That doesn't mean they've ran out of money. They're still going to have money to go with it as well. So it's the trouble with the one thing I hate when it's us and Chelsea linked with a player is sometimes you don't even know if he just wants to go to London.
Yeah.
Some players just like, you know what, I'd rather live in London, so that's the end of that. But Real Madrid will be favourites. But it's a long time till summer and anything can happen. We've seen this, we don't know what's going on, especially with clubs with different finances and everything they're having to deal with the pandemic. So definitely one that United should pursue, because if we get him, that's amazing.
But bear in mind, for obviously I'm sure a lot of you at home will already be thinking this, but for those who haven't but maybe, there is a very good chance that any of this interest is being touted by Alaba's team to get more money from Real Madrid.
That's ridiculous. So that never happens.
That's very much the likely scenario here. But again,
so cynical, Joe.
It's worth mentioning that deal to Madrid isn't done and that United are interested in him.
I know for a fact that David Alaba just loves Manchester. Right? He loves East. That's his favourite part of Manchester. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He loves the Arndale. Piccadilly Gardens, loves it all around there. There. Sees the fountains. Don't get that in Madrid.
No.
And he's like, I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you've seen Bezic at dusk. He's
22 says he loves curry. He does.
Loves curry.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Loves all that. So he's like, take me to Manchester. I want to go and see where they film curry. Not a problem. Off you come. We'll see what happens with that as well. Niv Stuckiner. Sorry if I butchered your name. Welcome to the membership. Thanks for your support. Guys, do check out the members section as well. He loves sales, says Angus Blacklock.
Who
doesn't? Especially the racecourse, it's lovely. If you go on the members section, we've got some extra content there. Me and him have been interviewing all sorts of people on there. There's a good interview with Simon Preston. We're talking about Leon Bailey.
Yeah.
And there's a giveaway as well we're doing there. But if you're not coming to the membership, that's fine. Subscribe to the channel though. Give us a subscription. And also, yes, like the video. If you've not liked the video, come on.
All sorts of stuff.
Do you know what I mean? Different stuff for different needs. What have you got for me next?
Well, there you go. Jesse Lingard.
I love this. Talk about this for the next hour.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we'll get into that later on, actually. Let's start with what happened. So, Jesse Lingard played for West Ham yesterday in his debut, scored 2 goals. Were they a bit lucky? Maybe. Were they a bit of a deflection, poor goalkeeping? Sure. But he got 2 goals in his debut.
The power of them shots.
The power
took them past the keeper.
Of inevitability, Jay.
The power
That's
of
what
inevitability.
Because Jesse Lingard is a... Let's not be hyperbolic and overstate it. Jesse Lingard is a good Premier League player that is capable of playing for a good Premier League team. And West Ham looked pretty good this season. The best I've ever seen them look, to be honest, in terms of points and league position after this long in the season. And he comes on for them, scores 2 goals. He's got Moyes patting him on the belly and that, all those little weird sort of throwbacks to the worst time in United's history. But somehow Moyes liked him and he liked Moyes. And I love the idea that Jesse can go there, get regular games, show his best self again. And it's not going to be the case that he goes 2 goals, 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal. That's not his game, getting 2 goals a game. It's a great debut for him. It's a great confidence booster for him. It's a great springboard, hopefully, to play well in games coming up. But let's not expect him to do this every game, because that's, the expectations may be a little high. But I think everyone must be happy for him, must be ecstatic that Jesse Lingard is gone there and looks to be playing well already. Now, you have a little problem sometimes with some people who aren't so keen on being a fan of Jesse, celebrating Jesse and all that sort of thing. But I think you've got to enjoy it.
I mean, I get it. And you know me, I'm quite bitter and jaded.
Oh, yeah.
So I get the whole idea of we don't cheer others' goals or whatever. But Jesse Lingard is a United player still. The guy's been through the mill. Like, whether you think he's good enough or not is almost irrelevant. He had mental health issues, which you can't just dismiss. You can't just go, he had mental health issues. So what? So have I. Aren't we all? No. Like, that's a serious issue. That's that cured then. That is literally the cure for mental illness. Money.
Cash.
Yeah, if you just give someone loads of money, they're cured. So he's had that. He's had a lot of change going on in his life. I think his family situation changed. He's just had a baby as well. That brings its own sort of responsibilities and stresses when you're already suffering. And you've got that added responsibility. It can be a testing time. And this is a guy who's he's never kicked off. He's always tried his best. I know you think you're trying your best. That's the minimum. You know, when he came on against Leicester last season got that goal, mate, we was buzzing in there, weren't we? We was in the watch-along room, and we were all buzzing because it caps off the game, and it was like, we already knew we were third anyway. But it was just great to see him getting on the score sheet because of the time he's had. Now he's gone to West Ham. This is a win-win for me. If he goes there, tears it up, and West Ham go, we'll have him. And Ollie goes, do you know what? He's not part of my plans. You can take him. I'm all right with that. Do you know what I mean? And I think Jesse will be fondly remembered.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, he's had a bit of a bad spell, but scored in 2 cup finals, played a lot of football, and was part, of some great results as well. We all remember the games at the Emirates and all that sort of stuff when he rattled Arsenal Football Club. Like, the entire club was obsessed with the dance floor.
Can you remember that?
Twitter was
he'd just done a shit everywhere.
Yeah, defecated in the middle of the centre.
Wrote his own name on the wall in shite in the dressing room.
Do you know what I mean?
He literally did a little dance after scoring a goal.
Yeah, and everything they did was centred around the dance floor of the Emirates to try and prove that it was no longer Jesse's. So I like the guy. He's gone there. If he stays there and succeeds and it's a permanent deal, fair play to him. I think he'll get an absolute tremendous reception when he comes back to Old Trafford and the fans are back in there, of course. And if Ollie says, you know what, you've shown me you've still got something, I can use you, and he comes back, I'm all about it. Anyway, this is a guy that's come through the academy. We've not spent 60 million on him or whatever. This isn't like, we need to get our money back. I think it's a bit of a win-win, and I do wish him well, and I was buzzing for him yesterday when he got those goals because, like we've said, for the reasons we've said, he's been through it, and he's United through and through as well, Jesse Lingard. We've interviewed him a couple of times on full time. We interviewed him at Brighton, at Full-Time Devils when he was at Brighton. And he was like, he looked like he was about 12. You were thinking, it was Sam Holmwood who interviewed him. You think, how can this child be playing at professional football in the Championship? But he was, and he did really well. Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think about Jesse Lingard, whether you're happy.
Still 1-0 in the Chelsea Spurs game, by the way, as well.
I can see some reactions from producer Cam now. Yeah. Jacob OC says, Lingard's problems were always in games where we dominated possession. I mean, yeah, I sort of get where you're coming from. He was very good at counter, Lingard. He was very good at sort of finding spaces and showing for the ball. Yeah. And that's where most of his goals came from. So we'll see what happens anyway. Mike Kennedy in Super Chat says, I miss Corp.
Me too.
Thanks for your support anyway, Mike.
Do you mean the nightclub in Sheffield?
Is that what he means?
I do as well.
I think he means corporation tax.
Oh, right. I thought he meant the corporation in Sheffield.
Right, he might do. He might mean either of the things.
I hope he does.
Yeah. People chatting about Tahith Chong because he's been doing quite well. There's a couple of chats saying that whether you can bring him back in, whether he's got a future at United. As you can see from the graphic there, Club Brugge manager Felipe Clement, or Clement even, has hinted...
Go with Clement.
Clement.
Yeah, take a Clement for once.
Pronounced. Has hinted Tahith Chong could stay beyond his season-long loan from Manchester United. Now, for those who aren't au fait with Tahith Chong's whereabouts or movements...
Whereabouts, like he's wanted for a crime. Excuse me, darling, do you know the whereabouts of one Tahith Chong wanted for impressing the manager on his debut at his new club? Mike Kennedy says, yes, Joe.
You were right. It was.
Is it? Go on, Mike.
Look how happy he is.
Oh, yes. I've been there in ages, by the way. It's good in there. It's a bit.
I've never seen him that happy.
It's a bit weird, but it's good. It's very good. Cheap drinks.
Hey, I've never seen you that happy.
Corporation nightclub in Sheffield. If you haven't been, don't go. It's mine. Okay, sorry.
Because but somebody scored against Leeds. You were that happy.
It's good. I miss nightclubs. I'd love to go there. It's not like a proper. Yeah, go on, carry on.
No, sorry. Listen, the floor is yours.
It's not like techno nightclub. It's got a lot of different rooms. A bit of rock, bit of pop music, bit of hip hop maybe, but it's a bit dirty, but in a good way.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've not been to
Yeah, like a second-hand
since the 90s.
Yeah.
But you've made him very happy anyway, Mike, so thanks for your super chat.
To be there.
As I was saying earlier, you're not fully au fait with Tahith Chong's movements.
Whereabouts?
He went to Werder Bremen in that there Germany. Did all right pre-season. And
almost became a meme, didn't he? Immediately when he was there, like scoring goals in his first couple of games, pre-season, scoring in training. He was very like all over Twitter for them at the start of the season. And then next thing you know, he's been recalled. So that was a slightly strange one, wasn't it? It
was, and also, it didn't. It's like you say, didn't go well. Sort of disintegrated there or whatever. Got a sort of move to Club Brugge where he's, like he did at Werder Bremen, hit the ground running. Stephen Housen's in the super chat. He says, "I love Luke Shaw. He's great." Nice comment. Thanks for it. Tahith Chong. Do you think he's got a future at Manchester United?
If I'm betting, probably not.
Yeah.
Just because that's how things go with players coming through the youth team. That's especially how things go with players that get loaned out. I know there are a few success stories, but generally speaking, we haven't seen too many players get loaned out of United, come back and be incredible. Not that it's impossible, but if we're betting, probably not. But I hope he has a good career. I hope that he can, like you said, it's win-win, isn't it, with a loan? There are two possible good outcomes of a loan. Obviously, the bad outcome is he doesn't play, comes back, everything falls to pieces.
You might need to get a room. Go on.
But with this, if he goes there, plays well, maybe get a full-time move, or maybe come back, develop a bit, and get himself in the first team. I don't think there's any problem with loaning players out. I wouldn't necessarily expect him to come back and tear through the first team. But I'm happy for him that it seems to be going well to start with. Getting a goal on your debut, what more can you ask for?
No, exactly. And like Chong, I always felt he was a little bit overhyped. There was a lot of talk about him. He was the next big thing. He was going to be great. And whenever I saw him, I didn't see a lot of him for the academy. But when he did get his chances for the first team, he definitely underwhelmed. Me and David Pritt were talking about him on the academy review. And I was saying, of all the players that were sort of raved about, Mason, Angel Gomez, Tahith Chong, in many ways, he was raved about the most. And he was the one that just sort of did the least.
Well, he got the two sort of academy team player of the seasons, didn't he?
Yeah, the Jimmy Murphy awards.
Yeah, which I think is... if you don't watch a lot of academy football, which a lot of people don't, and fair enough, a lot of it's not televised. If you don't live in the area, you can't get there. Then you would see that and think, well, he's the most talented of the bunch, and obviously that seemingly hasn't been the case so far. But again, he's playing a top flight team in Belgium, and he's playing well. Yeah,
we wish him well. Hopefully he does the business there. And you never know, he may end up coming back and absolutely tearing it up. Mike Kennedy's back in the super chat. Have you read that?
Yeah, them good old coloured pints, incorporation. All sorts, mate. They do everything.
People are going on about as well, but Steve spent a £5 just to tell us why we're doing transfer rumours.
Well,
then to comment on his shirt and what happens in that money. I don't know, and I don't really care. Just Steve in it, getting involved and giving us a bit of grief is what he does best.
Yeah,
but he does make a good point about your shirt.
What about it?
It's lovely.
Thanks.
Very nice.
I said flowers or something. I don't know.
What is it?
Flowers or something. Saw it on internet. Get it bought on that.
Yeah? eBay? Sorry, it's not a trick question.
Yes,
eBay.
No, it wasn't eBay actually. Don't worry about it.
Manchester United youngster James Garner, as you can see from the graphic there, has impressed the Championship side Nottingham Forest and was voted man of the match in his debut. Very similar to Chong in the sense that this is a guy who went on
Watford.
On loan to Watford. If you get my words out. Sorry, I was just busy reading Steenhousen's comment. Went to Watford. Didn't really. They got a new manager in, as what they do every sort of 2 months at Watford, who didn't really fancy him. So United went, not an issue. Forest will have him, and he's smashed it in his first sort of game now, his debut.
Yeah.
I like James Garner. Seen him in under 23s a couple of times. Took the kids down to Lee when we were obviously allowed in the games, and he was the man to watch. He was the one that everyone was like, "It's Garner. You got to watch Garner." Saw him score cracking goal there as well last time I was there. Very difficult when you're a midfielder to try and break into any team, especially a team like Manchester United with the talent we've got. But if he goes on loan, if he stays doing what he's doing on loan at Nottingham Forest, then there's every reason to think he could come into the Manchester United team next season. Because Ollie does like youngsters, does give him a chance. And Garner's been the man of the moment in this sort of academy team. He's the one that most people, like I was saying there, tend to be talking about. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I like James Garner. Whenever I've seen him, I've liked him. Obviously, he's speaking with Dave and watching him myself. He's always come through with Dylan Levitt, hasn't he? They've been a partnership that for a long time have been together. They played together for United, and I think Dylan Levitt got 100 passes or something on his debut, which regardless of who you're playing against, controlling the game.
Is that a Astana one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That's fantastic.
And James Garner's looks good. And last season, I think he upped his goals for the youth teams as well. I think it's like 8 goals in 6 assists in his first 15 games or something last season. So he seems to be trying to up his output. But he is a bit more of a deep line player. And it is hard to come through in that position, especially at United. It's such a pivotal position, literally and metaphorically. Everything gets played and turned through that position that you have to be one of the best players in the team to play there.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's going to be difficult for him to do that. And what he needs to do to have any chance of doing that is getting games. And he wasn't getting that at Watford. It seemed as though he turned up there and they were like, oh, yeah, that was a mistake. We didn't mean to do that. He's not going to play. So now he's gone to Forest, he's getting game time there straight away. Hopefully that can continue. Hopefully he can improve his development. And again, with midfielders, similar with or even more so with centre-backs and then slightly less with midfielders, you give them a bit of time over other positions to come through because it's difficult to be the main man in midfield at 21 or the main man at centre-back at 18. Teddy Mengi gets mentioned a lot. And it's so difficult to do that. When you're a striker or a winger, you see much more commonly 18, 19-year-old strikers and attackers. It's just a different... You don't quite rely on physicality as much as all those sorts of things. But hopefully he can go there and do well. And he, for me, is someone that has a better chance maybe of coming into the first team. From what I've seen, from what you hear speaking to people who've watched a lot more of him actually than I have, James Garner seems to be one where he could come in and do something. And hopefully he can. Hopefully he just gets games to start with because going to Watford and not getting a game, there's no point.
Well, yeah, I think was there a change of manager? I think I get where you're coming from. I think
change of manager at Watford, Jay?
Yeah, I think that might have been behind that one. Loads of comments about your shirt. Your shirt, something about you could work in Deptford or Shoreditch. Something about your shirt looks like a Rolling Stones logo. Steve was in there saying it's poppies. We love poppies.
Yeah, I think it is a loose interpretation on the poppy actually. Now I think about it.
Yeah,
it's nice.
And then Cameron says I need to see a picture of old barista Joe.
I'll get you one. Send me your.
I can't think of a worse job, man, being a barista. It must be horrible. I
can think about 50 worse jobs.
No, you can't.
Digging graves.
That's not worse. Out in the open, fresh air, got a spade, getting dug in.
Got a spade?
Yeah.
And that's a positive?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad job, but what's with being barista?
No, it's just like high pressure. You've got this,
60
latte,
PSI,
yeah,
60
latte,
PSI, that's what pressure is.
With semi-skim milk and, decaf, and a dash of caramel. There's a lot to remember. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like, can I have a milky coffee? No, it's all that sort
of... Well, yeah, but every job's like that. Only baristas out there, it's not a bad job, it's a good job.
My memory's terrible as well. I won't be able to remember all the orders, it'd be shocking. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Shola Shoretire. You don't have to take it so personal.
I'm not taking it personally.
It's like an affrontery to
it's not a personal thing, Jay. I'm just saying there's a lot of good baristas up and down this country who are going through a very difficult time at the moment.
And I've just credited them with doing one of the worst jobs in the world. They're doing it, and it's one of the worst, so I think that's a compliment. Do you understand what I'm saying? I could have said, that's one of the easiest jobs in the world. Now, that would have been an insult, wouldn't it?
It would have been an insult, but only a different insult, not more of an insult.
Different insults for
you could have said, and they're all ugly. Now that would have been a different insult.
I wouldn't say that, would I?
Not any less of an
insult. I don't judge people by appearances, unlike some, Joseph, with you.
What do I judge people by appearance? Dark NDVS says, Joe, are you bringing back the cat slated jacket? Let's not refer to it as the cat slated jacket. It's a leopard print jacket. If we go back top of the league, I'll wear it again.
Why would you say that? Why on a live would you say, let's not refer to it as a cat slated jacket?
Well, Adam McCullough already did that.
So now everyone's going to refer to it as that.
Adam McCullough already did it.
Someone's asking me about my clothes. What colour is Jay's hoodie? Grey or navy?
It's navy.
Thank you. Cheers, Franny Joker. It's not just about Joe's clobber. Should we talk about Shola Shoretire?
Let's do it.
Yes. Teen prodigy, as you can see from the graphic. I always like the sound of that. Yeah. Shola Shoretire signs his first professional deal at Manchester United. Now, this is sort of staving off interest from Barcelona, of all clubs. So, highly rated, obviously. Yeah. And he's signing his first deal with United, which is what you want to see because, you can see in the graphic there. He signed a lucrative first professional contract with United. 17-year-old prospect, Shola Shoretire, amid strong interest from Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Juventus. So, not many big clubs there.
That's just like interesting me at that age, Jay.
Did you? I've heard that. It was the knee injury that did it for you?
It was the knee injury, yeah.
And the lack of footballing ability.
That was the one.
Yeah.
That was
same
the
with me. Mine wasn't even the knee injury. It was just,
what mine said was distinctly shite on the pitch.
Yeah.
Was what mine said.
I mean, to be fair, they didn't actually look at me because I never reached a level where they'd even be looking at me. No. So technically, I didn't fail.
No, they never rejected you.
They never rejected.
You weren't
I
rejected.
knew when to quit, which is its own kind of victory.
Yeah, which in a way is one thing that a lot of professional footballers don't have.
Yeah, so you could argue that I'm better than them.
Yes.
In a way.
But there, that's some great interest, isn't it? PSG, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Juventus.
It's like he's written that himself.
All of them.
It's like we've asked Shola, write this graphic for us. Yeah. Well, Paris Saint-Germain, obviously, they're in for every big player. Barcelona, they're the biggest club in the world. Bayern Munich, Champions League winners.
I reckon his agent has gone in. Oh, we'll have a chat about getting Shola a full-time contract. Yeah, and he goes in, like, put sweat pouring off him. Never done this before. He goes, we're thinking of giving him just the standard graduate wages, 15 grand a week. Right, here's the deal. We've had some big offers.
Yeah.
Who from? Juventus. Oh, really? Barcelona as well, probably. Barcelona, PSG. Bothered? No.
I'm just adding some zeros into this
Bayern
contract.
Munich.
Bayern Munich.
Heard of them?
I'm just
and he'll go if he wants to.
Just put another zero.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
That,
I think that's
put
a bit
another
of a
zero on
tactic.
that offer.
Yeah.
We've just revised the offer we've made for your show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's now 10 times bigger than it was 4 minutes ago.
It fucking worked. It fucking worked. They're giving us an extra £5 grand a week. I'm sure a lot of teams are interested in. That's the thing with all of these players who are even remotely outstanding from about the age of 8. Are well known to all of the big clubs in Europe. That's how it works. That's how scouting networks work. They're so comprehensive. People were talking about Wayne Rooney when he was about 9, weren't they? Same with Mbappe.
You've nailed it. Phil Foden, apparently, when he was 8.
Yeah.
You talk like Mbappe. I think Harry Kane did the rounds. I know he was at Arsenal, and then he went to. I think Declan Rice was at Chelsea.
Like I was saying, there's that video of Michael Carrick.
Michael Carrick,
where he's 11 and he's listing other clubs that are after.
John Terry came to United, didn't he?
Villa.
With his parents. There's pictures of him with Fergie as a kid. Fergie showed him like Champions League trophies and pulling out all the stops. Like, come and sign for us, John. And he was like, nah, mate. Chelsea boy, do you know what I mean?
So it's no wonder that all of those big name teams are after him.
No.
It remains to be seen exactly how much interest there was. But I'm happy for him that he signed a professional deal at United. And hopefully we get to see some of him in the first team. You spoke a little bit about him to Dave Pritt, didn't you?
Yeah, he's like, I think it's Oliver Edwards there, he's saying that the interest is definitely real. He's a regular for the under-23s and there's an under-17, that's very rare. Yeah, he's a lot younger than the players he's playing around, which, makes you sort of sit up and take notice of him because you're like, wow, this kid is like 1 or 2 years younger, which at that level is obviously a big deal. Again, there's always a caveat with youngsters because there's so many different variables when it comes to can they kick on and fulfil the potential. We've mentioned some players there before, like Yana Zion and Makeda, who were fantastic at youth level. Terry Cook, I mentioned earlier, but couldn't quite kick on. Some of it's just physicality. Sometimes you don't progress physically. Sometimes the step up just doesn't work out. But this is as nailed on as you can get with a prediction that he's going to do big things. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can never be 100% sure, but this is as close as you can get. Everyone I spoke to raves about him, and the fact that the cream of Europe are after him and like trying to get him tells you all you need to know. Because even at that level, even when you're that good, you don't usually get all those clubs. No. Like a lot of like Barcelona and Juve will be like mainly focusing on players around their sort of country.
Catchment area.
Yeah, but he's got everyone after him for a reason. He's a phenomenon. So great that he signed a deal. The one one bad thing about this is now we have to try and be patient because next week it'll be like, where's Shoretire? Yeah. Why is he not in the team?
Well, he's
I want to see him
earning all that money and he's not playing.
Just play him.
Yeah.
Just do you know what I mean?
Oh, do we not need someone like that?
Yeah.
Fair enough. What's the point in getting him a contract then if he's not going to play?
Oh, what's he doing?
Just as an update, there's about 1 minute and 20 seconds left in the Chelsea-Tottenham game, and it is still 1-0 to Chelsea. Chelsea, who have largely dominated the game, certainly the first half, sat back a bit more second half, but Tottenham are an absolute shell of a team. We'll maybe talk a bit more about that at full time, Jay. But yeah, about a minute to go in that
Mourinho looks like he just climbed out of a skip. He just looks terrible. I don't miss seeing Jose looking like that, if I'm being brutally honest.
No.
Should we talk about the greatest player in the history of association football?
Andy Reid for Nottingham Forest? Or a different one?
Is that the big lad?
On the bigger side.
Oh, yeah, big boned.
Yeah, big boned.
The big boned lad.
Big boned, big chip butties.
Yeah.
That were his things. Yes.
He did not look like a footballer, did he, Andy Reid?
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's
looked like he worked in the
Akinfenwa, wasn't it?
building,
He's like.
Yeah, but Akinfenwa was.
I'm not saying he weren't.
Rooney.
I'm not saying he weren't fit. They were. These guys were fit. They just, weren't your typically physique footballer. Anyway, no, we're not talking about Andy Reid. He used to play for Sunderland. We're talking about
Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest. Sorry. We're talking about Bruno Fernandes, who currently plays for Manchester United. And actually, you touched on this earlier. Bit of a twist in the tail because you think Bruno Fernandes. Thank God we got him. We must have been chasing after him.
Yeah.
We must have been focused on him. We must have been pulling out all the stops to get Bruno Fernandes, no matter what, because he's so good.
Certain people on social media take credit for the signing of Bruno Fernandes.
What?
Yeah.
What people?
Well, let's not go into it. What
people like 8 followers who actually?
A lot more than you may think, if I'm being honest. But what it actually turned out is we wanted Haaland. We realised we couldn't get him. As I said before, we realised we couldn't get him.
Yeah.
So we went, let's speed up this process of getting Bruno Fernandes. We wanted to wait till the summer. Let's get him now. And there you see there. Manchester United only signed Bruno Fernandes because of Erling Haaland. Man United signed Bruno in the 2020 January transfer window with the playmaker electrifying Old Trafford in the time since.
I like that way that's worded.
Yeah.
Electrifying Old Trafford in the time since.
Yes.
It's like almost Shakespearean.
It is. But the point, we've sort of talked about that already, the point that's interesting is there is talks over a new contract with him already. Apparently, when he came to United, we doubled his wages that he was on at Sporting, which was around 50 grand a week. He's up to about 100 grand a week. I believe that's the case. And they're now looking to double his wages again to 200 grand a week, Jay. First of all, does he deserve it? Second of all, do United fall into traps of giving players new contracts? We saw the same with Jose Mourinho. We've seen the same with the likes of Phil Jones, and Marcus Rojo was one as well, who I think got given a new contract, and then we're struggling to get rid of these players. I'm not suggesting for a second that Bruno Fernandes is going to be got rid of in the next few years, but we've got him for another 4 years after this, I believe. Is it too soon to be looking at giving him a new contract? Because, as good as he is, he signed the contract he signed, and then now are we sort of rewarding things too quickly? Does he need trophies perhaps before we offer him 200 grand a week? Or do you think he come in, he's the best player in the team, he should be at least on a par with the bigger earners in the squad? And I think 200 grand a week still wouldn't make him the highest paid player.
No, I think you're right. I think in answer to your question, I think he does deserve a new deal. This isn't like when we gave out new deals to the likes of Ashley Young and Phil Jones and Chris Smalling when they were off halfway out the door.
Yeah.
Even the Jose one, I know you mentioned that where he signed a new deal in December, or in January, sorry, and was sat in the December. But Bruno Fernandes is ridiculously good. Yes, all right, he's on a bit of a long-term deal, but clubs are going to be sniffing around him. They are going to be trying to tempt him or trying to, tempt United with a ridiculous offer. I don't think we'll ever sell him. But he deserves to be on parity with some of the other players in the team. And it's not really fair when you're so good and you're so influential. Yes, he signed that deal and I get it. But you're looking around and you're thinking, all right, I'm earning less than players who are barely playing or who aren't at my levels or don't have the standards I have. And I think he needs to be rewarded. We need to keep Bruno Fernandes as happy as we can because the guy's just ridiculous. So I don't mind this at all. And also, this isn't Alexis Sanchez money. We're not going, all right, here's $500,000 a week. Where it's like, well, that's just upset everything and it upset everyone and that's just broke the bank. We're offering him sort of similar money to the likes of what I believe Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford and Paul
I think he's
Pogba.
on less than Luke Shaw at the moment.
Yeah, which people go, why is he on less than Luke Shaw? But you've got to understand that Luke Shaw's been at the club for 7 years now. So he'll have got a deal that keeps going up. Bruno, like you say, got his wages doubled when he came to United anyway. And also, he was a £47 million player. Yeah. He wasn't a £100 million player. He wasn't a player that was like, a world record transfer fee. We paid less for Bruno than we paid for Fred. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you have to sort of remember where he was coming from because it's easy to look at him now and go, he's one of the best players in the world. He should be on 300k a week minimum. When we got him, he wasn't regarded like that. That's why we were able to get him in January because everyone went an entire summer without buying him from Sporting when he was there. He was there for the taking, and Spurs, I think were linked with him. The Scousers didn't happen, and we managed to get him in the January without any sort of real trouble. It was like we want him. We're only going to pay this. They wanted a bit more, a little bit of negotiations, and we paid what is turning out to be a pittance. And I never thought to say that about a £47 million transfer, but it certainly is. So yeah, I think he deserves a new deal. don't think you need to give him like Alexis Sanchez money. I don't think anyone's going to be on that anyway.
No.
But if you can bring him up to a closer level to some of his peers, it makes a lot of sense, and also keeps him happy as well if he is sort of tempted by a move elsewhere, or even just a bit upset when he sees players warming the bench who are on a lot more money than him.
Should we talk a little bit about this Spurs-Chelsea result? Chelsea beaten Spurs 1-0. Both teams who, at the moment, sort of United are quite clear of both of them, but we know how things go over a season. There's a very good chance we're fighting one or both of those for a top 4 spot sometime in the season. Yeah. That's certainly possible. Jose, who just... Tuchel's come in and I think it's a draw and 2 wins for him now. Yeah, who knows how much of that is down to him, as everyone knows those initial bursts as a new manager. We saw Ole have it. Some of it's down to the manager, some of it's down to just a freedom of new approaches and new ideas. But fair play to him, he's done well, he's started well there. Of those 2 teams, which one are you more worried about? And what do you make of how Jose looks at Tottenham? Because his style of get a goal, sit back, or actually, as it's turned into these days, it used to feel like at Chelsea it was put pressure on, get a goal, sit back. Now it's sit back and hope we get a goal. Like, he used to at least have this sort of dominant, difficult midfield and strong physical attackers, Drogba and Ballack and Makelele and those sorts of players in those teams where you thought, they're a nightmare to play against. Now they just look like, you just think, well, they're going to sit back. Yes, they've got a couple of good players, but as soon as Harry Kane's injured, they just look toothless and back to their fragile, scared, defensive. It's like, do you know, like prey animals, where their method of not getting killed is by not doing anything until something comes too close, and then they attack it as a last resort to stay alive. That's how Jose's teams play now. They're just sat, looking over the shoulder as the lion gets closer and closer and closer, and the last minute they try to bite him, or they've got a bit of poison on their skin. That's all they are now. They're a poisonous frog. Do you know what I mean? And there's bigger teams, bigger animals around that actually go for teams and are trying to win games. And Jose sat like that. Let's hope. They're just timid, counter-attacking, awful football. And they did it against Wolves. Chelsea's one thing, it's his former team, they're on the up. They did it against Wolves. They were 1-0 up, sitting back. And they've scored and we're shit again. And we've seen it so much as United fans, where you're watching them play, you watch United under Van Gaal and then under Mourinho, where we're attacking or we're on the ball, we don't score, and we slowly, inch by inch, go back and back and back and back. And before you know it, Crystal Palace is attacking you for the last 5 minutes of the game and you concede and lose. And you're seeing the same thing at Tottenham, and it's remarkable the way that he's fallen the way he has. And I know that they're not out of it. They're still, 2 or 3 wins away from fighting for top 4 again. But again tonight, it just looked pathetic, didn't it?
Yeah, you're right. And it's that whole thing. The thing with Jose is, and this is his MO everywhere he's ever gone, you get 2 seasons out of him, and that's your chance, really, to win something. And then the 3rd season syndrome kicks in, and he moves on, he falls out with everyone, and he sort of, walks off into the sunset with a big payout. Now, at Spurs, he's almost had his 3rd season early, hasn't he? It feels like, and it does feel like Jose. I don't think he's a spent force. I've seen a few comments saying, Jose's done, he's not that guy anymore, and I can understand that, but I think that in many ways, the Spurs job is one of the most difficult he's had, because, when he came into United, we threw a lot of money in at first. We brought in Zlatan, we brought in Paul Pogba, we brought in Mkhitaryan. When he went to Chelsea, the first time round, he had a ridiculous backing. And you mentioned a player there, Makelele, who was one of the best midfielders ever. And then, the likes of Drogba, Damien Duff,
and Carvalho,
Robert and
Petr as well.
Yeah, they had that spine of Terry, Lampard. I know some of those players obviously were there when he got there, but they had a great spine. And then when he went back the second time, he still had that strong squad as well. Inter, he had a very strong team, although I think they exceeded expectations winning the Champions League.
He did incredible things with Inter.
And Real Madrid,
didn't doubt that.
Let's look at the players he had there, and it was just a ridiculous time in Spanish football with Barcelona and Real Madrid teams, both 2 of the greatest teams you'll see in recent years. So he's always had a very strong team. You go to Spurs, and yes, you've got Harry Kane, and yes, you've got Heung-min Son, and then you're sort of looking at it and you're going, all right, who else there is world class? Who in that team? Lloris is a decent keeper.
Yeah, he's a good goalie.
I know he's won a World Cup. I don't think he's like I don't think he's at David De Gea's level.
Alderweireld was good 5 years ago.
Yeah, they brought in some. Holberg's a good player. They signed him in.
Yeah. And Ndombele looks improved and is a decent player, but again, has never been a world-class player by any means.
Suzuki's a good player, but
yeah.
he's can frustrate a little bit with his passing or his shooting.
Yeah.
So they've got some good players, but not a lot of great ones. And also, when you look around other teams, what's been going on? Chelsea have spent a load of money. Yeah. United are flying. The Scousers were much stronger when Jose arrived at Spurs anyway, so he's always had a massive gap to make up there.
Yeah.
City are always going to be stronger.
City have been good for 10 years.
Yeah, so it was very difficult for him, and I think he's probably frustrated because, yes, they've not had a great time of it from injuries. He hasn't got the players that he needs to probably challenge. And for me, Jose's he's not that guy that comes into a team or a team that and works on a bit of a budget or works with a smaller squad and elevates it. Yes, he can, manage a team very well, but usually the thing you do with Jose, you get him in, you throw a load of money at him, you get 2 good years out of him, and then off he goes. And in a way, United even had that.
Yeah, there's a good point there from Matt W. He said, it's almost like having good players makes it more likely for you to win titles. And that's a great point, and it is the case that he had a great team at Chelsea, he had a great team at Madrid, he had a very good team at Inter, which I do think overachieved, but you look through that team, they had some sensational players, Eto'o, Milito, Sneijder, Lucio, Walter Samuel, Cambiasso. They had sensational players in that team, Zanetti as well. But the difference is...
Someone just said it as we both said it.
Yeah, the difference is, with Jose, yes, he hasn't got the best players in world football at Tottenham, but the reason he is no longer given jobs at the big teams, first of all, isn't just because he's not won trophies, it's because of the manner in which he leaves all of these clubs. Other than Inter, the owners of every club he's ever been at seem to hate him. Now he's like he fell out with Ibrahimovic once, went back, fell out with him again. He fell out with everyone at Real Madrid. He fell out with everyone at Manchester United. I don't know if he's fallen out with everyone at Spurs, I'm not going to make that assessment. I don't think he fell out with everyone at Inter, but he left and wanted to do the Real Madrid thing. Yeah. But you keep dropping and dropping and dropping because the only thing about Jose that keeps him in big jobs is the fact that he wins. Yeah. Because it's not his personality, it's not his relationship building.
It's not his style.
It's not his style. It's not the type of football he plays. It is the fact that he wins trophies. And when you don't win trophies, and he didn't win trophies with, he won trophies with United. He didn't win the big trophies with United. No one's claiming that he did. And then now you go to Tottenham. You don't win the trophies with Tottenham, which it's looking as though at the moment they might struggle to do.
Well, he's got the Carabao Cup final, hasn't he? And I think,
but Man City is so hard to beat.
They are, and it's a massive if. Yeah. The sort of technicality, as Andy Tate might say, that he's got is, if he delivers that, especially Jose's head, and even in to be honest with you,
in Tottenham fans' heads as well.
Is that their first trophy win since 2008?
Yes.
So if you deliver a trophy, they've not had one for 13 years, especially as well if Arsenal don't win anything.
Yeah.
Then he could probably walk away from there going, have a success.
The standards at Tottenham are so much lower than everywhere else he's been, and the reason he has to go to a club where the standards are so low is because because of his personality and his attitude and the way he falls out with everyone. And I don't mean his personality like you couldn't be mates with him. I'm not saying I don't like Jose Mourinho, but we know as someone to work alongside, he's fallen out with pretty much everyone that ever tells him what to do.
I mean, the thing with Jose is, when he arrived at United and for a little spell, I loved him.
I loved him.
I still
have a soft spot for Jose. I don't hate Jose Mourinho.
I used to love him. I used to love his press conferences. Are great. He was entertaining, and I even like the madness about him. Like, you remember when we got beat off Hull, and he refused to accept it was a defeat because the second goal didn't count.
Fantastic.
And I was in that press conference where the journalists were saying, the game against Hull, some people may call it a defeat. You don't see it like that. It's like we couldn't admit that it was a loss because he was that.
At the time,
I am not considering that a loss. We drew.
That idea of just saying that something that we also happened didn't happen.
Yeah.
At the time, it seemed radical and novel. Whereas now, since we've had 4 years of Trump's America, now just telling someone that a loss is a draw. It's just commonplace.
I think
what do you mean we lost? We drew.
I think it was James Docker asking me a question from the time he sort of went, the game against Hull, some people have said it's a loss. You don't see it like that. Some people said that. Everyone who watched it and who's registered the score said it's a loss because it was. But it was that madness. But you sort of enjoyed it because, like you say, you're winning football matches, so it doesn't matter if the games aren't entertaining, if they are scrappy, or if you just start shutting up shop or getting the draws away and winning at home or whatever. Yeah. If you're winning trophies, it's okay. I loved him in that night in Stockholm. Keep going back to it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
But Since then, he's been on a gradual decline, and he's always kept at a sort of even keel, hasn't he, Jose? If you look at, he went from Porto to Chelsea to Inter to Real Madrid.
Real Madrid back to Chelsea.
And then to United. And so it's always been, Europe's elite.
Yeah.
Spurs is a little bit lower than that. It's a rung lower, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now you think...
When's the last time they won the league? The 50s?
61, 62, yeah.
So, they haven't won the league in 70 years.
And they're not even, like, Champions League.
60 years.
Like, I know they reached the final, but it's like, come on.
Yeah.
So, I think if he leaves Spurs now, it could be international football or back to Portugal. Someone will probably have him because he's Jose Mourinho.
I think he'd be excellent in international football. Someone said it in the comments, and it's not I haven't invented this idea that one of the things that Jose is so keen on, and one of the things that one of the main tenets and pillars of Jose's success is an almost, I don't want to say something I'm not qualified to say, an almost religious adherence to his philosophies.
Yeah.
And it's us against them. It's everyone is against us, and we are the only people who, first of all, know what's right, and second of all, aren't trying to kill us. We're the last bastion of hope. We're 300. It's a very Spartan, like, top of the hill. We are above everyone else, and everyone else hates us, and we've got to prove them wrong mentality. It's a very strange, and I say strange. It's worked for a lot of different people in a lot of different areas. That style of management, but it requires such blood boiling sort of like adherence to it, and you have to go in all out in with him. And the fact that he's won so much meant that he could get players to go all in, and it's screaming.
Yeah.
It's all that kind of big personalities shouting, fighting, us against them stuff. And the less you win, and the longer it is since you've won the big trophies, people sort of look at that and go,
but
this doesn't mean anything anymore.
It works, what you said. Pete says Jay went to Mexican night, had an avocado. Not recently, mate.
But that works. Sorry.
It works when it's you against you as a team, as a club against everyone else.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're two bank robbers and then one of you turns on the other one.
Yeah.
Then that's not, you know what I mean?
No.
It's like that thing with Jose. He turns on his own team. He turned on his own players at United, and he turns on the board, and he turns on the press, and it's like, it's okay if you're saying it's us against the world. Like, guys, lads, we're all in this together. Fergie used to do it.
Yeah.
The referees are against us. The press are against. Fergie on a press conference and say, you lot, all of you, your job's to tell the truth. None of you are capable of doing that. And if you can't do that, I'll ban the lot of you. Yeah. And everyone's like, yeah, right, why not? He goes in and he'll go, the referees are a shambles, they're all against us, they don't want us to win. The other manager, he's a dickhead. And you're like, yeah. But with Jose, it was like, all that and plus, my own players aren't fighting for me. This player's no good. I haven't been backed by the board.
Rashford shit, Martial shit, Pogba shit, Fred shit, Luke Shaw shit.
Yeah, and then you're like, hang on a minute, you're falling out with everyone else, which we like.
Yeah.
Everyone hates us, we're fine with that.
Yeah.
But when you're falling out with your own players, when you're telling the youngsters none of them are good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, Alexis Sanchez is pissed off because he's got to play with all these kids who are crap. You're like, hang on a minute, that's not going to work, and it's sort of.
But potentially at international level that could work because there is a bit more of that. There is, again, it's not just in a football thing. Those sorts of techniques have been used by, politicians and by war, leaders in war, and it's like that siege mentality thing that someone said in the comments. It works, and when you are doing it from a national perspective, it might work even better. A
great point. The post-Sevilla comments. I think that's where he lost a lot of people, Jose. We got knocked out to Sevilla, and in the press conference afterwards, he said we wouldn't have won the Champions League anyway. And it's like, that's not what you want to hear from a manager of Manchester United. Especially when, I think that was the season that the Scousers went to the final. And that's the Scousers that we finished above in the league. Yeah. It's just, that's not the right attitude at Manchester United. Guys, 1,700 people watching. Yes. Get involved. Do like the video. We're going to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. Before we do, Diallo.
Yeah.
Amad Diallo. And Phil Jones. Let's not forget about him.
Yep.
Added to Europa League squad. Interesting.
It's interesting more for me. The Diallo one, whilst it's exciting, is completely unsurprising. Because if he's ever going to get a game for United this season, it may well be in the Europa League. Yeah. Where even if we beat, Sociedad's a difficult game, he might not play against them. But if we get through there, there's still a lot of not so good teams we could face where he may well get a game. Phil Jones is more surprising. Phil Jones doesn't even play for Manchester United.
Does this? I mean, I know we'll get ahead of ourselves, we don't know, but does this indicate, or do you think there's an argument to be made that Ollie should just write this off? And just play like children and Phil Jones and you know, like a Starner tackle. You know when it was Jesse and Lee Grant?
Yeah.
And then lots of children.
Yeah.
Like, literally, we've got a league
so
title
you're saying
challenge.
send Phil Jones out there like the Pied Piper?
Yes.
Just him surrounded by a gaggle of...
Follow me to European glory, kids. And then they all end up in the canal.
Yeah, a big mountain opens.
Phil, what happened? Yeah, I just think that, you know, even risking someone like, I don't know, Luke Shaw, for example, or Marcus, someone who you might need in the league, or if he gets injured, it's like, oh, do you just play the reserves?
I wouldn't just play the reserves now, because if we're honest, and I'm as keen to get excited about a title challenge as anyone else, and I think it's possible we win the league, and I think, and I keep saying this, we need to hold out hope that someone can stop Man City winning the league, and at the minute, no one else is doing it. So I'm not going to rule out the chances of United win the league, because if you do so, you're basically saying go on then City have another title. And first of all, I don't think it's set in any single, you know. In no way have Manchester City won the league already. So therefore, United are well within their rights to hope for a title, and I'm hopeful of a title as well. But Ole needs to get some trophies under his belt at some point. We haven't got the Carabao Cup. We were slightly unlucky there, but you know that's how it goes. We're out of that. We've got the FA Cup where we've just beat Liverpool. We've got West Ham. We're presumably going to have at least another 2 tricky fixtures in that. And it is difficult to keep winning games against top flight opposition, no matter what trophy it's in. So it's Liverpool and then it's West Ham, and then who knows who it will be after that. So you can't say that, well, we should win the FA Cup then, but we might have had to play 5 Premier League teams and beaten them in a row to win that tournament, and that's difficult to do. The Europa League is a significant opportunity for us to win a trophy, and a much-needed trophy, because if at the end of this season we could finish third, we could not win a trophy, and even though we all know, watching it, seeing where we are after 20 games, that this season has been an improvement over last season, there could so easily be fuel to the fire that Ole hasn't improved this squad. And what is a definite marker of improvement beyond any doubt of any hater or anyone that refuses to look at the fact that we are playing better football, we're scoring more goals, we're in a title challenge, one thing that rules that out completely is a trophy.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've only, you know, we've got 2.5 trophies to go for, because the Premier League is going to be difficult, but we can win the FA Cup and the Europa League. I say go for both of them. And I don't want to risk players, I don't want to risk injuries, but for me, sending out, you know, all the kids and Phil Jones is not just disrespectful to the tournament, which not that we have any allegiance to that tournament in particular, but disrespectful to the we're here to win trophies. No. I know it's not the biggest trophy, but what else are we doing? Yeah. We're trying to win trophies. The Premier League obviously being higher in the Champions League, but it's all trophies and it's all good. And like you said, this Stockholm, the final against Ajax is one of the best memories in recent times at United, and we don't get too many of them at the minute.
No, you're right, we don't. Ross Murphy says, just on the Phil Jones front in the Super Chat, he says, the time when Ole was caretaker, Phil Jones was top. Listen, I know I defend everyone, but I do think, we know Phil Jones had limitations, we know Phil Jones has had a terrible time with injuries. I do think he has become the whipping boy, and everyone just piles on Phil Jones, and I did feel a bit sorry for him when he said he wouldn't have a testimonial because he knew no one had come. And I'd like to see him sort his career out. Do you know what I mean? Was it Twitter who said Name was a player better than Phil Jones?
Yeah, fuck
off. Wait, and I thought, who the fuck are you getting?
How about probably 200 million people in the last
like 99% of the planet.
Everyone ever is worse than Phil Jones. What are you talking about?
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, all right, you can bash Phil Jones, and I'm not going to stand there and say he's the best United player ever. But he's still a player, you know, who's won as many European trophies in his career as City have in their entire existence. Yeah, he's still won a Premier League, or as many Premier Leagues as Liverpool. He's still got like more England caps than the likes of Jermaine Jenas and people like that who are on my screen all the time, telling him where he's going wrong. So, yes, Phil Jones isn't great, but sometimes the pile on,
completely
it's just a bit like...
And as well, if he hadn't been injury prone, which, again, he is, so whatever, he would have had a much less sort of piss-takeable career at United. He would have played games. When he was on runs of games, he often would look more than passable. He'd look like a good defender at times.
When we bought him, when he was at Blackburn, when he was 18, he was a phenomenon. And all right, Fergie went overboard by saying he's going to be our greatest player ever. But, you know, for those first couple of seasons, and even glimpses further down the line, he looked like a real sort of he was going to be here to stay.
He's a good player.
It's like, here's someone you can rely on. It just didn't pan out. But sometimes, like I say, he becomes a whipping boy, and I just get bored of it all.
Yeah.
It's like, really? All right, yeah, we get it. He's not very good. Yeah, all right, whatever. So hopefully he can get some games in the Europa League and get a move in the summer and get his career. Because he's still only like 28, 29.
29, I think.
Yeah, he's not over yet. And if he moves on and has a career elsewhere, then or plays a few more years elsewhere, wish him well. Finally, should we look at some goals or should we discuss United's goal stats?
Yeah.
Because we like scoring goals, Joe.
It's great, isn't it?
We love it.
Do you know what? And I like that we've put this on. I like that we can see the graphic here. But I want to talk about this. The fact that on every platform, Twitter, I think was it Sky, Prime Sport here talking about it, Man United have scored the most non-penalty goals this season. Since when has anyone given one shit about non-penalty goals? Because the same people have allowed this myth to perpetuate that Bruno Fernandes is no good because he only scores penalties, which, again, I'm not even going to defend the obvious knowledge that everyone has that, repeat the obvious knowledge that everyone has that he still has the most goals and assists, excluding penalties, but we have to defend, we've scored the most goals in the league. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about non-penalty goals. And I keep seeing this everywhere. Everyone going, oh, who's the penalty team now? Who cares who the penalty team is? Penalties are goals.
I know.
When did that stop? When did it be the case that a penalty is worth less than another goal? It's just ridiculous. I hate that we have to put this, caveat on there, we all know United only score penalties. Leicester have scored almost double the amount of penalties as us this season. We've got the most goals scored in the league. It's great. Forget about all that. It does my head in.
I'm with you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was never a thing. No. And there always seems to be these caveats and things that people look for. Bruno Fernandes scored those goals. Well, how many non-penalties? Or how many of them have come against the big six? Not the top six.
No.
Or not the teams that finished in the top six last season or the teams that are in the top six now, but the big six.
Yeah.
So we can shoehorn other teams in there who he hasn't scored against this season. It's just a nonsense. And, if anything, you deserve credit for scoring penalties.
Yeah.
We went through this time, didn't we, where we couldn't score any penalties. We kept missing.
Yeah.
There was a whole drama about Pogba and Rashford, and then Martial, he couldn't step up as well. And Bruno basically just scores almost every time he takes one. So, yeah.
He's missed one for United.
He's missed one out of how many, is it? It's like 20. Something ridiculous. We're scoring loads of goals, both penalties and otherwise, and I don't really care how we score them. I just care about the fact that we are scoring.
That's more like it. That's the sort of stat you like to see. Top scorers across Europe's 5 leagues. Bayern Munich at the top, but they play against amateurs and that.
Exactly.
PSG, same. Inter Milan, impressive stats by them, they've not won a league, I think, in 9 years or 10 years or something like that. 49 goals. And then after that, it's Manchester United with 46. So, we're the 4th highest scoring team in Europe, the highest scoring team in the league. The thing that we need to catch up on, as we alluded to before with talking about the likes of Ruben Diaz and John Stones at City, we've conceded 27 goals. Manchester City have conceded 13. That's where the problems come in. But in terms of getting back to a point where we all like to talk about the good old days of Manchester United, concede 2, score 3, all that cliched stuff, but it's great that we're the top scorers in the league, and it's been a hell of a long time since that's been the case.
It has, and it feels good to see it as well. And it just reminded me of the other night when we scraped it against Southampton thanks to that penalty.
Oh, can you remember that? Oh, do you know what? When
it wasn't for that penalty.
When Bruno stepped up to take that penalty, I was so nervous.
If he didn't score that, we'd have been right in the shit. Yeah. And that was like the talking point.
I know.
For 3 days. Did Martial dive? Was that a penalty or not? We won fucking 9-0. What are you on about?
I know.
Honestly, 46 goals this season. We're, behind City on goal difference. We're flying. Yeah. Just enjoy it and ignore the haters.
Talking about VAR, it's not a talking point here, but I just want to say it to you.
You can do what you want. Ad-lib.
We need to get rid of VAR.
Is that how it is?
That's how it is. And here's the thing, Jay. That is how it is. We have to get rid of it. And we've talked about it. And Adam McCullough says to me, it's not VAR's fault, it's the ref's fault. Well, here's the thing. We have refs. So what you want to do you want to... Right, here's the question that I have for you, Jay. Do you think, with the introduction of VAR, we talk about incorrect or controversial refereeing decisions less now than we did before VAR? No. Do you think we talk about it less?
No, we talk about it more.
We talk about it more.
Yeah.
We brought in technology to rule out mistakes in the game, and all it's done is illuminated the fact that when you bring the offside rule down to millimetres, it is farcical. And also, oh wait, we still get mistakes. There's still handballs not given. There's still penalties that are clear penalties not given. There are red cards given for the merest of scrapes on a player's ankle. And yet, we all act as though it's not VAR's fault, it's the ref's fault. I prefer the same amount of mistakes or less that we used to get, except you're allowed to cheer goals. You don't have to worry about, not only is he offside, was there a handball in the build-up? Did the ball cross the line in the build-up? Did someone elbow someone 45 seconds ago at the other end of the pitch and the goal's going to be overturned? There's the same amount of mistakes and controversies as there used to be, except now you can't even celebrate goals. Like, it hasn't got better with VAR, has it?
No. Then, and what makes it even worse is just from the point of view, I was just hark back to this when I was in the ground. And do you remember when we beat Chelsea 4-0 at the opening day of the season, last season? And it's like, I remember Marcus went through, and we'd had all this thing with VAR, it just come in, and there was these pauses, and a goal would go in, and you get a VAR check, and when you're in the ground, you don't really know what's going on as well, and it's like, at home you can see, oh, that's clearly onside or whatever. And I remember Marcus going through and scoring, and I celebrated, but I held back a little bit, because I was thinking, was he offside? Now, in retrospect, he wasn't even remotely offside, it's just my eyesight's fucking shite. But I was thinking, I was waiting for a VAR check, and then when you're in the ground, all you get is VAR check, you don't even know, and everyone's little piling around the executive boxes to see if you can see through the glass. It's ridiculous. So it spoils it in the ground. Outside the ground, sat on my couch or wherever watching it, it's frustrating. Yeah. And you do get that thing, don't you, of like, I think it was me, you and McCullough against Wolves, was it?
Maybe.
When Marcus scored.
Yes, it was against Wolves.
And I was going berserk, and you two were going, oh, was it offside? And then I shit myself, like, what do you mean? Yeah. Like, because I didn't even realise there was a hint of offside, and you were like, no. He was like, it looks like this could be a one for VAR, and I was like, oh, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I like sort of drama and excitement and stuff like that. Obviously, it's why we watch football, but there's just too much, and it's too much nonsense. Yeah. And it's like, if we don't have VAR, like the other day, okay, Southampton get a goal, we might not get another goal, but that kid in the first minute still gets his red card.
Yeah, clearly.
You know what I mean? Mike Dean didn't need to go and check a monitor to see that. You know what I mean? A lot of the penalties and the decisions you get, you're still going to get. And I get where you're coming from, because I think, my only thing with VAR is, I think if we are going to keep it, you need to be quicker with it. You need to have some sort of limit. You can't be having these 2.5-minute checks. No. Where you're going over and over and over it and all that. You give yourself 30 seconds or whatever and just say, right, if that's not obvious to you there, you stick with the original decision.
See, for me, and Ross makes the point there, the refs are incompetent. I agree it's a tough job, but they're always going to make it easy. Some just bottle it. The thing is, when people say, oh, it's about the implementation, here's the thing, we still have refs. So either the next phase is to make human beings radically better at refereeing football matches, or, and here's what I personally would do, get rid of VAR until it's basically the robot making the decision. Yeah. Wait till we've got to a point where the sensors on the side of a football pitch or the cameras on the side of a football pitch decide to within a 1,000,000 to 1 chance of accuracy that someone is offside or not. Do you know the way we have goal line technology at the minute? Since goal line technology first started, there's been one mistake, hasn't there? The Sheffield United game. Yeah. That's the one everyone points to. There's been no other mistakes. It works almost flawlessly. At the point when offsides can be decided by a camera flawlessly and instantly, that's when you bring it in. Because like Ross is saying, the fact that you still have to rely on the refs anyway means that you don't get rid of mistakes. You just put the mistakes back by 45 seconds. That's all we're doing. I think you have to wait until VAR is a seamless robot that just goes offside, not offside on the ref's watching, he blows the whistle straight away. Because at the minute, it's just as much controversy, but it's taking one of the most enjoyable parts of football out of football, which is those immediate reactions to goals, those explosive jumping on your friend reactions. You can't do that anymore because you're going, let's not celebrate now because we're going to have to wait 45 seconds, and even then it might get ruled out. It's taken away one of the most special parts of football to me.
No, I get where you're coming from, mate. I kind of agree with all that. It's even though I've always been willing to sort of give VAR a go.
I wanted it before it came in, by the way, so I'm changing my mind.
I understand about moving with the times, and you talk about robotic things, and people likened it, didn't they, to Hawkeye?
Yeah.
But the thing is that's black and white in it, and it's literally It's just technology.
Yeah.
I know the only time it didn't work was when the technology failed.
Yeah.
I think it was in the Sheffield United game last season, wasn't it, or whenever it was.
Yeah.
But it works, and you can see that is like, there's no disputing it. We're still getting these disputes. We've seen it with the Bender red card, wasn't it? It's been rescinded.
And the Shea Adams goal, come on, to any football watcher, that's not offside.
No.
He didn't gain an advantage from that. It's just not.
And if that's, say, United versus City, and it's a title decider, and that's our goal, and it's denied, you're going to be like, that's it. You're not going to be talking about the title race or anything else. You're going to be talking about that.
Exactly, and so that's one end of the spectrum. The ones that are technically he was offside, but we all know he wasn't offside in terms of the meaning of the rule. And then the other end of the spectrum is the Sheffield United game, where there are 2 goals given, or 1 goal given, 1 goal ruled out, and it should have been the other way around. And VAR doesn't fix it. No. So what is the point?
And they admit it as well. They say we got it wrong, and it's like you say, it's human error. Do you know, like when you do an interview with Christian Falk, you forget to press record on your StreamYard.
Oh yeah.
And you go, sorry, you're 2 minutes in and you realise, and you go, sorry, Christian, the Wi-Fi's crashed. Yeah. Can we just start that again?
Exactly.
Like, can we do that again? I'm not speaking from any sort of experience here. This is a hypothetical.
Yeah.
The point is, you blame I've never ever panicked like I did then when I realised, why is there no light? Oh yes, because I've not pressed the button. But you blame technology, don't you? It's technology. Yep. It's not, it's human error. Yep. It's invariably human error. That's the problem. It's not the technology, it's the human implementation of it. That's where you get an issue. And, you know, if you're going to rely on humans, just rely on humans as refereeing, I get that. Yeah. Rather than putting him in front of a screen, giving Mike Dean 10 minutes to go and look at something, and then he only adds on 3 minutes anyway, none of which makes any sense. And then you get 2 decisions, like you said, against Sheffield United, both wrong.
And if we have to wait 5 years until the technology where cameras can see the difference between my knee and your shoulder going through for offside, you're the attacker and the defender. If we have to wait 5 years for that technology to work seamlessly and reliably, then wait 5 years. Because at the minute, there's just no point. Obviously, people saying there, we're not going to get rid of VAR. I completely agree. We aren't going to get rid of it.
Get rid of humans, Jay says.
Yeah, exactly. That is it. If we can get rid of the human element of these decisions to a certain degree, like RefBot. Do you remember Robot was? And they brought RefBot in. Got a little time screen on his chest, just goes around with his little metal arms and that. That's what we need, RefBot. Anyway, sorry about that.
Don't apologise.
Just annoying that we have to go over this all the time, and there's no less controversy now than there was before VAR, and we've actually lost one of the best parts of football, which is the immediate reaction of goals.
Do you remember, I always think, do you remember Sheringham's goal in Nou Camp?
Yeah.
And you remember he looks, doesn't he?
Yeah.
As he scores it, he looks to the linesman.
Gives with a shot, Sheringham.
Yeah. Looks, Sheringham goes like that. Sees the linesman's got his flag down, runs off, celebrate. Now you'd have, flag probably goes up, VAR, we wait 3 minutes, it's debated for forever, whether it's given or not. If it's given, we then kick off again, but we've had this 3 minute gap and it's not the same, and Ollie probably doesn't get that goal and we don't win the treble.
Yeah.
That's just, you know, a possibility.
Anyway,
guys, thanks for watching. If you've not liked the video, like it. We've had over 1,700 people watching and about 500 odd likes, which I appreciate. Appreciate your support. Thanks to everyone as well who got involved in the chat. Some great comments there, some great debate. Thanks as well to people who gave us super chats and to people who've joined the members section. What we've got coming up tomorrow, we've got it'll be Housen with the presser reaction. So
got a preview as well.
Preview
for the Everton game.
Preview for the Everton game. You've got Housen will be looking at all his presser comments, and then Housen's brew. Yes, me and Housen are having Housen's brew. Producer Cam just reminded me there. So me and him will be having a chat. I don't know what about, but I'm sure it'll be something.
Some ace, wasn't it?
Something reserved. You know how Steve is. He's quite a sort of conservative,
calm guy, isn't he?
Serene. There'll be a bed of serenity as me and Steve look at that. So have a chat, sorry. And then at the weekend we've got Everton in another must-win game that we don't really need to must-win, because if we don't win it, life goes on. But we'll call it a must-win game. And it's me, Thee, and McCullough in it.
I believe it is.
On the watch-along for that one. So make sure you are tuning into that. And if you're not doing, check out Scotty and Marty. I've just put a link in the chat there. It's mine and Dave Scott's channel.
Cheeky
you know what I mean? I'm not just on it. I'm on Scotty and Marty as well. Why don't you get a channel? I can say this every week.
Yeah, I'm going to get a channel,
People
Jay.
keep asking this.
It's difficult because I've got these big...
People actually like you.
I've got some grand ideas, but it's hard to do them during lockdown. What I might start doing is streaming on Twitch, actually. I think I might do that.
Is that where the kids are nowadays?
It's where the kids are, mate.
It's like TikTok.
Yeah. but no.
Right.
It's like TikTok, but the complete opposite, because TikTok is very much short form, Twitch is very much long form.
My daughter's always into that TikTok. She's always getting me to try to get me to do dancing, like, synchronised dancing. I did one during lockdown. I don't want to be like that dad who's like, I'm not doing that. But then there's part of me like, I don't know where this is going and who's going to see it and what they're going to make of it. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of 22 in it. But I just, in my house, I have a policy of just doing as I'm told.
Good lad. I think you should do the TikToks. I think you'd be great on TikTok.
Dad dancing on TikToks.
Yeah.
Cameron S says I saw Jay's TikTok. That's really worrying. Right, that's been Joe Smith. I'm Jay Martin. This has been the Stretford Paddock Live. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.